Why Princess Leonor of Spain must ask permission to marry. Picture the quiet halls of Madrid's royal palace, the soft echo of footsteps across marble floors, chandeliers shimmering above, and the weight of centuries pressing down with almost tangible force. Princess Leonor of Spain walks through these corridors with measured grace, aware that every move, every glance, carries meaning far beyond the palace walls. In Washington, London, Ottawa, Canberra, and Berlin, commentators note her presence not merely as a young royal, but as a living emblem of continuity, a symbol whose personal choices will ripple across the globe. And yet, there is a detail almost nobody outside these circles fully understands. The moment Princess Leonor of Spain chooses to marry, she must first ask permission from her father, the king. Why Princess Leonor of Spain must ask permission to marry is a reality few truly consider. This is not a story about gossip. It is a story about governance, succession, and the delicate architecture of monarchy. Every decision about her future spouse is embedded in legal tradition, institutional protocol, and the enduring need to preserve national identity. The king's permission is more than formality, it is a safeguard of continuity, ensuring that the monarchy remains stable, respected, and capable of enduring the pressures of a modern, globalized world. Observers in the United States and the United Kingdom frame this differently. In Washington, analysts see the ritual as a measure of political symbolism, a signal of Spain's enduring stability in Europe. In London, it is interpreted through the lens of precedent and public trust. Canada and Australia observe it as an exercise in ceremonial continuity, while Germany frames it as constitutional resilience. And Madrid, quietly, recognizes that the ultimate decision rests not with public opinion but with the careful balancing act of duty, heritage, and legacy. That is the first cliffhanger. Can personal desire and institutional responsibility ever fully coexist in the life of a future queen? National identity is woven into these rituals. Every handshake, every ceremonial bow, every public appearance reinforces the unbroken thread of monarchy. But marriage is unique, it is intimate, personal, and yet inseparably tied to the very fabric of Spain's governance. The king's permission transforms a private moment into a national statement. It is a reminder that succession is not abstract. Continuity is not optional. And the choices of Princess Leonor of Spain, even in matters of the heart, are matters of state. 3 clues reveal how this system operates, even without public disclosure. First, body language. The way Princess Leonor interacts with court officials, diplomats, and family offers subtle insight into alliances, approvals, and expectations. Second, media attention. Journalists in Madrid, London, and New York track what is said, what is unsaid, and what is carefully omitted, interpreting silence as much as speech. Third, protocol. Seating arrangements at state dinners, the order of introductions at official events, the presence of advisors, all signal the boundaries within which personal choice must operate. And every small signal carries weight internationally, echoing across capitals in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany. The king's permission is not mere tradition. It is the living embodiment of continuity. In granting or withholding approval, the monarch is not limiting a child's autonomy but safeguarding an institution. Observers in the United States and the United Kingdom may frame it as ceremonial, yet the implications span constitutional law, national identity, and international perception. Canada and Australia see it as symbolic reinforcement, while Germany interprets it as a measure of constitutional discipline. Every facet of the act reflects a deeper understanding. Continuity is preserved not just by law, but by the careful management of precedent and expectation. By the midpoint, the stakes intensify. Why Princess Leonor of Spain must ask permission to marry becomes a lens through which the world measures Spain's monarchy itself. Analysts in Berlin and London debate the balance between personal choice and dynastic responsibility. Commentators in Washington and Ottawa question how this ritual influences perceptions of leadership, governance, and stability. In Madrid, every advisor understands that even a single misstep could reverberate across continents, shaping international confidence in Spain's institutions. That is the midpoint escalation tease. The line between personal freedom and institutional duty is narrower than anyone can imagine. Consider how royal palace traditions have always served as governance tools. Across Europe, monarchs have historically controlled succession, alliances, and the integration of new families into dynastic networks. In Britain, marriage approvals historically protected public trust. In Germany, they maintained constitutional legitimacy. Now, in Spain, Princess Leonor must navigate the same framework, blending personal inclination with institutional expectation. Every handshake with a foreign dignitary, every ceremonial appearance, every glance recorded by global media contributes to a narrative where her eventual marital choice becomes a symbol of continuity, diplomacy, and leadership. The second cliffhanger emerges quietly. What will Princess Leonor do when personal affection intersects with public responsibility? In the US and UK, audiences debate modernity versus tradition. In Germany, analysts quietly assess legal precedent. Canada and Australia reflect on the symbolic authority this confers. The tension between heart and duty, desire and protocol, is a drama observed not just in Madrid but across continents, shaping perceptions of stability, governance, and continuity in ways both subtle and profound. Royal marriages are never purely personal. They are statements, signals, and instruments of continuity. Every prospective partner is measured against criteria that transcend romance: compatibility with public life, understanding of national responsibility, and the capacity to uphold Spain's constitutional heritage. Observers in Washington, London, Berlin, Ottawa, and Canberra follow these developments with a dual focus: the personal story of a young heir and the institutional story of a monarchy whose relevance depends on carefully managed choices. By the 10th minute, the implications crystallize. The king's permission represents a safeguard for Spain's continuity, ensuring that the monarchy remains a stable anchor for governance, identity, and international perception. Even minor decisions, a public engagement, a formal introduction, a diplomatic courtesy, are imbued with layers of significance. Every detail signals alignment with tradition and institutional expectation, sending messages across the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany. And yet, the choice remains fundamentally personal, creating the delicate tension that defines modern monarchy. At the 13th minute mark, the third cliffhanger arrives. What happens if personal choice and institutional need diverge? How will the monarchy reconcile love with duty, desire with precedent? Across Europe, historians note that such moments often define the longevity of dynasties. In Madrid, advisors prepare contingencies, recognizing that the world is watching not merely a princess but the preservation of governance itself. That is the delicate balance. Continuity relies on discretion, authority, and the careful management of private decisions with public consequence. The global obsession around Princess Leonor's private life is therefore not frivolous. It reflects a broader reality, that personal choices made in the palace will reverberate across continents. Observers in Washington and London see implications for diplomacy, analysts in Berlin see constitutional signals, commentators in Canada and Australia see symbolic resonance. Every decision, every approval, every carefully orchestrated ceremony reinforces the living thread of continuity that binds Spain's monarchy to its past, present, and future. Even as audiences speculate, the palace maintains silence. That silence, paradoxically, fuels curiosity while safeguarding authority. National identity is woven into these rituals, where the king's permission ensures that personal decisions align with institutional stability. Continuity is not abstract here, it is embodied, visible, and reinforced through every ceremonial act, every public appearance, every careful negotiation of private life within a framework designed to last generations. By the 18th minute, safe foreshadowing emerges. One day, Princess Leonor will exercise the choice of whom to marry. That decision will be observed not only in Madrid but across the capitals of the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany. It will influence perceptions of governance, leadership, and stability. It will demonstrate the delicate balance between personal freedom and institutional duty. And when that day comes, the significance of the king's permission will be understood fully, not as constraint, but as a protective mechanism for continuity, legacy, and national identity. The final minute draws the narrative together. King's permission is more than a formality. It is a symbol, a safeguard, and a statement about the enduring power of Spain's monarchy. Princess Leonor of Spain's choice of spouse is not just personal, it will shape the future of Spain's monarchy and its role in the modern world. The world watches, from Washington to London, Berlin to Ottawa, Canberra to Madrid, because this is more than romance. This is governance, continuity, and the living embodiment of leadership itself. As we look forward, one question lingers: when Princess Leonor finally makes her decision, will it reaffirm centuries of tradition, or subtly redefine the monarchy for a modern age? The answer will unfold quietly, deliberately, and in full view of the world, because in this case, love is never just private, and permission is never just protocol. The next chapter is coming, and it may change everything we think we know about continuity, authority, and the future of Spain's royal legacy. Even beyond the ceremonial halls, the weight of expectation follows Princess Leonor of Spain wherever she goes. Every public engagement, every official visit, every subtle interaction is scrutinized, not for scandal, but for the signals it sends. In the United States, commentators quietly note how such rituals reflect the stability of Spain as a modern European monarchy. In the United Kingdom, analysts dissect the interplay between personal choice and institutional duty. Canada and Australia watch as a model for how tradition can coexist with contemporary expectation, while Germany frames every gesture as a lesson in constitutional resilience. And through it all, the central fact remains: King's permission is the hinge upon which the monarchy's continuity turns. The protocol is exacting. Princess Leonor of Spain may meet countless advisors, diplomats, and potential allies in the context of official duties, yet every step is filtered through a lens of legacy. Who she befriends, how she engages with foreign dignitaries, even the smallest ceremonial gestures, are recorded, analyzed, and interpreted. Each choice becomes a signal, a message that may travel from Madrid to Washington, London, Berlin, Ottawa, and Canberra before the day is done. And in the quietest moments, when cameras are off, the unseen influence of tradition and expectation shapes her decisions as profoundly as any public decree. 3 subtle clues help the world understand this invisible calculus. First, seating arrangements and introductions at formal events, seemingly minor details, are carefully managed to reflect hierarchy, alliance, and approval. Second, media attention, what is reported and what is deliberately withheld, communicates priorities and preserves discretion. Third, the guidance of advisors, acting as intermediaries between personal desire and institutional expectation, ensures that every eventual choice reinforces continuity. These signals travel far beyond Spain, and the global obsession intensifies not because of rumor, but because the implications are profound. Observers in the United States and United Kingdom often misread the silence as mystery, yet it is precisely the control of information that protects the monarchy. Canada and Australia see the ceremonial acts as symbolic gestures of stability, while Germany interprets them as careful demonstrations of constitutional discipline. Princess Leonor's future marital decisions will not be spontaneous. They are part of a carefully calibrated framework that safeguards Spain's national identity, preserves institutional integrity, and maintains international confidence in governance. And that brings the next cliffhanger. How does a future queen balance human desire with centuries of expectation? The significance of King's permission cannot be overstated. It embodies the principle that continuity is not merely legal, it is visible, tangible, and enforceable. Every approved marriage, every sanctioned partnership, reinforces the monarchy's capacity to endure. This system, while rooted in tradition, is also a form of modern governance. It ensures that Spain's institutions remain credible, resilient, and capable of projecting stability to allies and observers in Washington, London, Ottawa, Canberra, and Berlin. By the midpoint, the tension escalates. Princess Leonor is no longer simply a young royal, she is a symbol, a living bridge between centuries of history and the evolving expectations of the modern world. Every rumor, every observation, every careful media report becomes part of a global narrative in which her eventual choice will influence perceptions of leadership, diplomacy, and stability. What might seem like a personal decision is, in reality, a cornerstone of Spain's strategic continuity. And yet, there is a delicate unpredictability. Love, by nature, is not constrained by protocol. Every observer, from Berlin to Ottawa, London to Washington, wonders, can the monarchy reconcile personal autonomy with institutional oversight? In Madrid, advisors prepare for scenarios that may never materialize, because the true test of continuity lies not in legislation or ceremony, but in the human heart of the heir herself. That is the second cliffhanger, a tension between duty and desire that no formal rulebook can fully resolve. Across Europe, the implications are quietly profound. Royal marriages have historically been instruments of diplomacy, tools to secure alliances and stabilize regimes. Today, Princess Leonor's path is no different in principle, even if the stakes are framed through the lens of modern expectations. The eyes of the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany are not prying, they are measuring, assessing, and contextualizing her choices as indicators of institutional resilience and continuity. Every ceremonial act, from public appearances to private consultations, is an exercise in governance. King's permission transforms the intimate into the strategic. Observers see not only a young woman considering marriage but a monarchy actively safeguarding its legitimacy, projecting stability, and maintaining relevance on the world stage. In this way, continuity is not abstract, it is practiced, enforced, and reinforced daily. By the 13th minute, the third cliffhanger emerges. What happens when personal will and institutional expectation diverge? Across capitals, analysts ponder potential outcomes. In Washington, strategists consider diplomatic optics. In London, commentators assess public trust. In Berlin, constitutional experts debate resilience. In Ottawa and Canberra, cultural observers reflect on symbolism. And in Madrid, advisors quietly acknowledge that the stakes are as much about perception as about protocol. The global obsession intensifies precisely because of these high-stakes intersections. Every smile, every gesture, every deferred decision is magnified into a signal of continuity, governance, and stability. Princess Leonor's eventual choice of spouse will carry meaning far beyond Spain's borders, influencing how allies, observers, and citizens interpret the monarchy's capacity to lead, adapt, and endure. Even in moments of quiet, when cameras are shuttered and headlines are yet to form, the weight of expectation persists. National identity is woven into these private moments, where King's permission is not merely an act of authority but a tool of preservation. Continuity is embedded in ceremony, in protocol, and in the measured approval of the monarch. And through this lens, every private decision becomes part of a global narrative of leadership, diplomacy, and stability. Safe foreshadowing begins to emerge. One day, Princess Leonor will exercise her right to marry, but that decision will not be merely personal. It will be a signal of Spain's capacity to blend tradition with modernity, love with duty, and private choice with public consequence. Observers in Washington, London, Berlin, Ottawa, and Canberra will interpret that moment as a measure of governance, leadership, and continuity. And the next cliffhanger forms quietly. When the decision is finally made, how will the world perceive the balance between personal autonomy and institutional responsibility? The story closes with a reaffirmation. King's permission is not merely protocol, it is a pillar of continuity. Princess Leonor of Spain's choice of spouse is not just personal, it will shape the future of Spain's monarchy and its role in the modern world. The global obsession persists because this is not gossip. This is governance, legacy, and the visible embodiment of leadership itself. And as audiences from Washington to London, Berlin to Ottawa, Canberra to Madrid continue to watch, one question remains. When Princess Leonor steps forward, will she honor centuries of tradition, or quietly redefine the monarchy for a new era? The answer is coming, deliberately, quietly, and with the full awareness that love, duty, and continuity will forever intersect in the life of Spain's heir. The next chapter is poised to unfold, and with it, the delicate balance between heart and institution, the very essence of a monarchy that survives not merely by law, but by the choices of those who inherit it. Even as the world waits, there is a rhythm to the palace that outsiders rarely see. Days are structured around ceremony, study, and preparation, each moment designed to cultivate the qualities necessary for a future queen. Princess Leonor of Spain moves through this rhythm with precision, understanding that her life is inseparable from the institution she will one day lead. Yet even within this carefully curated environment, the question of marriage lingers. King's permission is not simply a legal formality, it is a tool of continuity, a bridge between personal choice and national responsibility. In Washington, analysts frame this as a study in leadership and governance, noting how private decisions can carry international implications. In London, it is a narrative of continuity and public trust. In Berlin, constitutional observers see a measured, deliberate process that safeguards the monarchy. Canada and Australia watch for symbolic resonance, understanding that even distant Commonwealth nations reflect on royal protocols as models of disciplined leadership. Every choice made by Princess Leonor, every meeting, every handshake, every public appearance, is a step along this invisible path, a preparation for the moment when permission will be requested, and continuity tested. 3 subtle signs hint at how the decision-making process unfolds. First, the careful cultivation of public persona. Every smile, every posture, every gesture is scrutinized for indications of independence, judgment, and diplomatic awareness. Second, media framing. What is reported and what is withheld signals priorities, readiness, and alignment with tradition. Third, advisory influence. Trusted counselors guide choices not to limit freedom but to ensure that any personal decision strengthens the monarchy's credibility and reinforces its stability in a world that watches closely from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany. The first cliffhanger arrives quietly. When personal affection meets institutional expectation, what will prevail? Across Europe, historians note that royal marriages have long served as tools of diplomacy, alliances, and social cohesion. In Madrid, the palace staff prepares contingencies, knowing that even private love stories are never entirely private. Every observer, in Washington, London, Berlin, Ottawa, and Canberra, waits for signals of alignment or tension, because the stakes extend far beyond a single life, they touch the integrity of an entire monarchy. King's permission, then, is a subtle yet powerful instrument. It embodies continuity, ensuring that every marital union supports governance, institutional resilience, and public confidence. Observers in Washington and London may call it ceremonial, but its effects ripple across international perception. Canada and Australia understand its symbolic resonance, while Germany interprets it as a measure of constitutional discipline. Even a seemingly small decision within the palace becomes a lesson in leadership, stability, and legacy. By the midpoint, the tension heightens. Princess Leonor is not merely preparing for marriage, she is navigating a delicate intersection of private desire, public duty, and global observation. Analysts in Berlin and London debate whether modern monarchies can reconcile autonomy with protocol. In Washington and Ottawa, commentators discuss the implications for soft power, diplomatic credibility, and stability. The young heir's personal life is therefore inseparable from the narrative of continuity that sustains Spain's monarchy. The second cliffhanger emerges. How will the monarchy respond if personal choice challenges expectation? In Madrid, advisors anticipate scenarios, but the truth is uncharted. Across continents, observers wonder whether the heir's decision will reaffirm centuries of tradition or subtly reshape the monarchy for the modern era. Every handshake, every public greeting, every carefully curated appearance becomes a message to the world. Continuity is preserved not just by law, but by the disciplined exercise of choice within the bounds of duty. Even as cameras capture only formal appearances, the unseen influence of tradition pervades daily life. National identity is woven into these private decisions, where the king's approval ensures that love aligns with responsibility. Continuity is embedded in protocol, ceremony, and guidance, creating a framework that is both protective and enduring. Observers from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and Germany see the narrative unfold as both a story of a young woman and a testament to governance itself. By the 18th minute, safe foreshadowing solidifies. One day, Princess Leonor will exercise her right to choose a spouse, but that choice will resonate far beyond personal happiness. It will demonstrate the monarchy's ability to adapt while maintaining continuity, balancing tradition with the expectations of a modern world. Every global observer, Washington to London, Berlin to Ottawa, Canberra to Madrid, will interpret that moment as a measure of leadership, diplomacy, and institutional resilience. The final minute draws the narrative together. King's permission is not a relic, it is a pillar of stability. Princess Leonor of Spain's choice of spouse is not merely personal, it will shape the future of Spain's monarchy and its role on the global stage. The global obsession persists because this is more than love. It is governance, legacy, and the visible embodiment of leadership. When the heir finally makes her decision, the world will see how the monarchy reconciles private desire with public duty, and whether continuity, authority, and tradition endure. The next chapter is approaching, quietly, deliberately, and with full awareness that in the life of Spain's future queen, love and duty will forever intersect. The question remains, when Princess Leonor steps forward, will she honor centuries of precedent, or quietly redefine the monarchy for a new era? And as the world watches, one truth becomes clear: the answer will reverberate not just across Madrid, but in the capitals of Washington, London, Berlin, Ottawa, and Canberra, because continuity, governance, and legacy are never just ceremonial. The moment will arrive, inevitably, quietly, and under the full gaze of history, when Princess Leonor of Spain requests the king's permission to marry. And in that moment, the private and public will converge. What seems like a personal decision will be read as a statement of continuity, a measure of Spain's institutional resilience, and a symbol of governance that extends far beyond palace walls. Observers in Washington, London, Berlin, Ottawa, and Canberra will see not just a young royal, but a monarchy demonstrating the careful balance between human choice and national responsibility. King's permission is the hinge upon which centuries of tradition turn. It is a ritual that reassures allies, strengthens public trust, and signals that Spain's monarchy is capable of enduring both scrutiny and change. In granting approval, the monarch communicates confidence in the heir's judgment, readiness, and alignment with institutional values. In withholding it, even temporarily, the monarchy asserts that continuity is paramount, and that personal desire must harmonize with national interest. Every outcome, every subtle decision, echoes across continents, reinforcing the monarchy's role as a stabilizing force in the modern world. Even as headlines speculate and media narratives swirl, the reality is far more deliberate. Every advisor, every protocol officer, every legal precedent works in concert to ensure that Princess Leonor's choice strengthens the monarchy rather than undermines it. Observers in the US and UK, accustomed to analyzing leadership through elections and public opinion, witness a different form of stability here, one rooted in centuries of ceremonial authority, discipline, decision-making, and carefully guarded discretion. In Germany, the moment will be studied as a case in constitutional resilience. Canada and Australia will see symbolic continuity that transcends borders. The global obsession, then, is understandable. This is not curiosity about romance. This is curiosity about continuity, about whether the monarchy can adapt to the expectations of the modern world while remaining anchored in tradition. Each handshake, each public smile, each discreet audience with the king is imbued with meaning, a prelude to the decision that will define the monarchy's trajectory for decades. Princess Leonor's choice will reveal the careful choreography that has allowed Spain's royal family to navigate centuries of political, social, and diplomatic challenges. As this chapter concludes, one truth is undeniable: King's permission is more than a formality. It is a safeguard, a symbol, and a statement of enduring authority. Princess Leonor of Spain's choice of spouse is not just personal, it will shape the future of Spain's monarchy and its role in the modern world. And while the world waits from Washington to London, Berlin to Ottawa, Canberra to Madrid, the ultimate question hangs in the balance: will this next chapter honor the weight of tradition, or quietly redefine it for a new era? The answer, when it comes, will resonate far beyond the palace, echoing through governments, media, and public consciousness across continents. Continuity, governance, and legacy will converge in that single moment, revealing how a monarchy survives, not merely through law, but through the disciplined exercise of choice, trust, and careful guidance. And as audiences around the globe watch, one certainty remains: the story of Princess Leonor of Spain and the king's permission is far from over. The next chapter is coming, and it promises to define the future of Spain's monarchy in ways that the world will never forget.